Hello there, good morning and welcome to my Arty Corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter. I'm best known for my adult colouring books, but I just love to draw. I love pattern, I love playing around with patterns, I love whimsy and cute, and I'm messing about with hand lettering at the moment, but not today. I did whimsical houses in my last video, another batch of them. And today I just feel like looking at a Tangle pattern. So what I've done is I've had a look on tanglepatterns.com. I picked the letter O to look at for no other reason. I went, oh, so I clicked on O. And a little way down the list is a delightful Tangle pattern called OAURA. And it's by Lin Chiu. And it's been inspired by the OHMU, or the Ohm from Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Ah, perfect. The OHMU is one of the creatures in there. I haven't watched it all the way through. I started watching it last weekend, so I will get round to finishing watching it once I've watched the 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi that are released today on Disney+. Woohoo! Anyway, before I get started into this, I will write the name and stuff at the top of my paper here in a moment. Just a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed. I appreciate you so much for all the likes, the comments, for sharing and giving shout outs. Thank you so much. You know, sort of like linking back to the channel here. But also, people have started to share what they're drawing with me, and I love to see what you're doing. I really do. And I find it fascinating to see how I can start you, you know, sort of like I might explore a pattern and then how you take it in your own directions as well. I think it's wonderful. It shows how creative we all are, how unique and individual we all are, even though we're bonded by a common love of drawing and pattern and enjoyment in this. So just thank you for doing that. And I really do appreciate the shares and the shout outs, because it's an important way of helping others perhaps to benefit from my videos, as so many of you seem to be doing, and enjoy, even if it's just enjoyment in watching or having laughs at me as I say something silly, which happens quite frequently. So thank you. So let's get to this. Forgot to clean my glasses before I started. I've smudged them. Not an unusual thing. Okay, so in front of me, or in front of the camera here, you can see, is a piece of it is Artway mixed media paper. It's really quite heavy and sturdy. It's like card. And it does take mixed media nicely. It has got a bit of a texture to it, a tooth to it, but I'm okay with that. And I've just coloured it with some distress inks. Now the colours I used were mustard seed, which is a nice, it's quite a nice warm yellow. I also used fossilized amber, which is another yellow, but it's got that little hint of browny oranginess in it. Then I used, it wasn't dried marigold. Which one was it? It wasn't, oh, see, I should have kept it out, but I used one of the oranges. And I also used a bit of ripe persimmon around the edge. What's the orange I used? If I start digging it out, I forget. I'll try and remember, pop it in the description. And then for the stenciling that I did here, I used abandoned coral, because I do like a bit of coloured paper to draw patterns on. And this is something I haven't done for a while, but I'm just drawing a border around the paper, because I just think that just adds something really rather, well, just nice. It gives you that feeling that it's framed. That's me. You could double it up, put a pattern in them. Perhaps I will put a pattern in later on. But this is called OAURA. So spelled like that. And it's by Lin Chiu, who's a CZT. I still queep. I don't know what queep is. What was it? I thought I saw a putty cat. Tweety pie, wasn't it? Yeah, I still keep thinking about whether I'll do the course to become a CZT. I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about it. I haven't made my mind up yet, so that's just a caveat here. I'm not a CZT. You know, I'm not authorised by Tangle to teach things, but I can share what I do quite happily, I'm sure. And as I'm not selling anything, I'm sure it's fine. So this is a lovely, lovely, lovely tangle. And I'm going to do the ribbon of the straight ribbon version of it first, so you can follow along with me. Hopefully you'll be able to see. I haven't got my page at the best, my camera at the best angle, but you'll see hopefully. To remember to hold my pen up further so it's at an angle rather than straight up, which is the tendency for me. So we're going to start with, two lines. I'm going to draw a ribbon, just a nice straight ribbon, like so. And then I'm going to draw circular-ish shapes with a gap between them. You can not worry about whether they're perfect or they're equally spaced. You know, close enough is good enough here. And then this is where the OAURA comes in, and I am going to switch to a finer pen. I've got an 01. Actually, I could do with a slightly larger nib than that. I've got an 03, but that may actually be as thick as my 05 because I was hand lettering with this morning and I was pressing down an awful on this. So what we do here is we start to OAURA these orbs like this until we get up to the middle here, or close to the middle. They don't have to touch. So I'll do that here. If they do touch, it's not going to be a problem or an issue. I love simple patterns like this, and of course my head is already going to how I can vary this. So I'll try and rein that in for a moment. And then in these little gaps here, you put just a little like curved inwards sided triangle, which didn't make any sense, and I knew it didn't make any sense as I was saying it. But like triangular shape where the sides are curved inwards, so they follow the curve of those lines we've put in. And that essentially is it. I mean, I've put 2 OAURAs round. I can see in the original deconstruction there's just one line around these orbs, but then it depends how much space you need. So that's the variation, is whether you put these tight together. We could have them so they're almost touching. That's my 01. That would be a silly pen to use for this because I'm trying to draw nice and big, and I tend to use 01s for adding fine details, bits of cross hatching, places where I can't sneak things in. So I could, instead of having them fairly close together, let's spread them out apart. Just changing the distance between them will change how they appear. And then while I've got this pen in my hand, I'm just going to draw another ribbon here, and I'm going to put them just that little bit closer together than my original one, hopefully. So with these, we may not get that aura line in, but we'll get something in between them. So let's have a look and see where this goes. So with these, again, I'm just going to keep auraing side until I get roughly to the middle. And because I'm a bit finicky about things, I'll try to make the same number of lines on each side. Just, yeah, it's just me. It's not, I guess it's not essential. But it just makes me feel like, well, there's sort of mirror images on either side and that's fine. At the edge here, I'll only get 2 in really. I'll get 3 there. And then we can do the same and pop this little triangle in here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do with that little triangle on each of these. Is I'm going to just go back and just colour it in. Now this paper has got quite a texture to it. It's quite rough. So my lines aren't perfectly drawn here, you know, nice and smooth. The pen is not putting down as much ink as you perhaps might like. Also, these pens may be running out of ink a bit. I've actually put 4 lines around that one, 2 over there, so they match up. So this one, will I be able to get, I think I'll be able to get a tiny, tiny, very narrow aura in. Oh, yeah, just. If I'd used the 05 I used to draw with up till now, I don't think I'd have managed this. But even with, it's the beauty of having different sized pens that you can use. So I could put, and I might do that actually, as the beginnings of the next orb in at the ends there. There's an Tangle term, isn't it, for something that is vaguely circular shaped but not perfectly circular. It's an orb. And then it is a case of popping these little V shapes in. Remembering to have the shape of the sides follow the shape of the circles around. I'm guessing it won't matter too much if you didn't do that, because again there's variations that could be done here. As I'm going through this, I'm thinking about, well, we could put like a little circle in, which I was about to do there, but I'm going to keep it all the same. And instead of solid black, we could use lines to shade in one way or another. Or colour. Colour would be quite fun. So just by varying how far apart these circular orbs are, we've got a slight variation in the pattern, which is fun. Excuse me whilst I have a slurp of my tea. I still haven't finished my mug of morning tea. Really late getting my backside into gear today, but it's a lovely day as well. Okay, so these are straight lines. Well, the one thing that I noticed is we could draw a fragment for this. So I'm going to do that up here, because I think sometimes it's nice to work with a fragment rather than a specific kind of pattern. So the fragment is the orb in the middle, so I'm doing this as a square. The aura around the outside, and then, although I've put these, it's almost like an aura here, I will fill these in. And if we pop these together, we'd end up with, well, it would be like these, but it'd be more like these with the line in the centre, I suppose. They'd actually join there. But that could be fun. But auras can be fun. I'm having that day. Auras can be fun to work with. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm drawing a great big circular-ish shape. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to decorate it with some bent versions of this pattern. We'll have a look at it in other ways in a moment. I have a lot of enjoyment at doing all of these variations. I find it a fab way to work at things creatively, and sometimes it's that discovery of things that are new or different. So here I'm going to pop some of these orbs in, and yet I've got half ones on the edge because, well, they would be if they were going round in a circle. So again, I'm going to do the same kind of thing where I'm going to put the straight line down the middle, and I'm going to use that to draw the triangle shapes on. So I'm making use of that idea of a fragment here. So I quite like that. Okay, so we use circles here, but what about other shapes? What about if we used more of an oval shape? So it's like a stretched out circle, isn't it? So let's have a look and see how that looks. Let me get my finer pen. I'll put the O3 completely to one side for a moment. Use an O1 here. And I might have a different number of lines that are auraing these little circles. In places, because I may just have a bigger gap like there, and perhaps on the edges. This one I think I could just squeeze extra lines in. I think this one I possibly could. That one I can. Wouldn't have been able to if I wasn't using such a fine pen. And then I can just pop these little triangle shapes in again. And one on the corner there. So that works. That's giving it a completely different feel. It's a much denser kind of pattern. She is. Okay. So any other shapes we could use? Oh, I'm sure we can. Let's go for a diamond shape instead of, so I'm just squashing one in on the, on the edge like that. And we'll use the same principle of just auraing around these. And then putting that triangle where there's a triangular shape. You may not get a triangular shape depending on other shapes you may try here. But just go with whatever shape is created is what I'm going to say. Okay, let's do this one. Again, I think Here I only managed to get one aura around, you know, one aura around those. It's not critical that you have exactly the same because they end up looking the same overall in the pattern. So we've got a few variants there already. Okay, what else can we do? Well, if I draw, I'm going to draw a box here because I do like somewhere to have ribbons sort of like fit in and change shape and so on. So how about if we have perhaps a ribbon that's this shape. Now this will be really interesting because the size of these will vary, and it will, depending on how we shade it as well, we can bring out a lot of dimension into this. This is an enormous one there. I mean, it's not going to actually touch this, but you just do what you can and try to imagine how big it would be. Like I might have been better off doing that way, but it's fine. The end of it all, it'll most probably look believable. So I'm going to add an aura around these with the 05 pen. Just one aura to begin with. Oops. So there I've got a very small space. But then I'm going to go to the 01 to add the other auras. And that variation of line, the density of line, will add some interesting variations here. And I am going to, those little triangles, I've auraed inside them instead of colouring them in all in black. I did that one, I didn't do a complete aura because I knew I wouldn't fit two in there. Here I think I'm in the same situation where I'm not going to be able to fit two auras in, so I'll just use this instead. Here, well, we can't aura because I've closed the space off, but I can do that. So that's a different kind of feeling again. And the other thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do some auras inside these. And there is a reason why I'm doing some of them wider. This one here, just do that there. And let's go like that. So for this one, I'm going to fill this channel in here. Some little lines. And I think I will intensify the line there. This one, I think I'll turn it into a flower. So I'm going to draw little petals around here. So there's a flower within that orb. So these are just little arches, little U's or rounded ends, little curves there. For this one, I think I'll do this. Then I think I'll do a little touch of weaving. So I am alternately auraing the circle and then these spokes that come off. I'm not going to be able to get the aura in completely there. and I can get a couple of those there. So it looks a little bit woven. It's very tiny, and I'll zoom in so you can see that one. Don't know if you can see how it's woven in there. So that's quite nice. And then this one, I think I'm going to do petal shapes going towards the centre of this. This is something I like to do. It's sort of like it turns the idea of a flower, I suppose, upside down, or where the petals are curving over to protect the centre of the flower. So that's quite nice as well. Now these are tiny areas to work. And I'm using a very tiny pen, but it works quite nicely. And I'd put some shadow in. And here, just for this section, I'm going to fill this part just with some cross-hatching, just to darken it up. But not so dark as the black, so it gives some contrast. So that's a bit fun. Okay, so these are two parallel lines where they curve inwards towards the centre. I say they're not parallel lines, but two bands that curve inwards. So I'm going to take a band that perhaps curves outwards in the centre, like so. And yep, I've popped it behind the one I've just drawn. So we'll get some layering going on here as well, which is fun. Okay, so rather than circles, I'm going to do leaf shapes in this one, I think, because I'll be able to fit them in nicely. And I also like the idea that I'm using the same, I'm using this kind of leaf shape that those lines bending outwards have created, and using that inside as well. Again, I'm going to use these same pen for the very first aura around them, so we've got a nice, distinctly solid aura there. You know, experiment with using thicker and finer pens, lines, to create variation in your patterns. It's another way of doing it. You don't always have to. Oh gosh, as I throw the lid everywhere. Have to use the same thickness. This is an 01 pen, so I'm able to go really quite close into these shapes. Move your paper around as well, so that you can see the tip of the pen, so you can see where it's going. I sometimes have my pen up, right, and I can't see what I'm doing at times. I can't generally, because my hand gets in the way. But if you do it this, you know, move your hand so you can see the tip of the pen tip, it makes it that much easier. At the ends here, I'm just going to continue to aura right to the tip. And then I don't think I'm going to add any more auras as such, but I am going to add these triangles in. And I think I am going to just colour these ones in black. This looks, this one maybe I could feel with, let me do a couple of these and see the difference. Because sometimes you need that contrast rather than more lines to sort of like give some kind of structure or definition. That could actually work. Possibly. It's hard for me to know or to tell. I like both. So let me have a look here. I've got one to go in here. What I'm going to do with these is these are Zebra Sarasa pens. They're gel pens. The gel ink is permanent. And they're beautifully coloured in vintage tones. And so I've chosen a reddish one here, which tones in kind of with the background. And I'm just going to use that perhaps to fill this in instead of the... So I did lines here, but I'm going to go back and just colour this with this gel pen. They write very smoothly. You know, it says 05, but then nowhere near as the line you get isn't anywhere as thick as you do from a Micron or the Uniplin I've been using. So there's an opportunity to use some colour here as well. And I think I may take that and just pop for these ones on this side this reddish colour there. It's not quite brown, but it's not a true red either. It's a browny red, I guess. And then with this one, I'll pop a black aura in there, almost like it's coming out this, or going in this way, sort of like coloured, and coming out the other side black, maybe something like that. So that's fun. And of course, the other way that we can vary this is to have one edge straight and the other edge curving. So could have done with a slightly bigger curve there. So this is changing the shape of the channel we're putting these in. It feels quite perkish, you know, the Zentangle perk. And it does feel quite perkish, this does. But it is a bit different to perk because the circles don't touch and we've got this space in between them that we're using to add pattern to. So as I've got some coloured pens out here, Arteza also do vintage coloured gel pens, but I've got those, but they're all 07s, and the colours aren't quite as intense or saturated as the Sarasas. So, as these are such a fine point, this is what I like to use. So I've got that there instead of the black. And if I carry this on this way, we would have that coming there, and perhaps I've got another circle going up here, so I can do the same thing where I can pop that there like that, and that just carries along. So there's some other variations. Other things, we've done some different shapes, done some colour. So I guess all that I need to do now really is to have a look at adding some shadows. So I'm just going to fertle and get my tortillon, my chalk pastel. I'm looking for my... This is just a piece of... This is a sort of like handle, and it's got some sandpaper on it, sheets of sandpaper. They actually last for a long time if you pick the dust up off them, because we're only using paper on here. And I can clean and sharpen the tip of my tortillon up with this. I usually keep some masking tape on the top of this, but I can't see where my masking tape is. Oh, I can, because it has two uses. One is it stops the sandpaper becoming dusty, and two, it picks up all that paper fluff that's left on there, and once it sticks no longer, you can dispose of it. So I've got that. And the other thing I wanted, I got up here, got a pencil sharpener, because I do just want to give this a little bit of a sharpen, my chalk pastel. There we go. And I'm using this purpley grey one, and I will zoom back out because I've moved everything everywhere now. Oops. Try zooming back out. Oh, and I'm zooming in again. That's of no use to man, woman or beast. There we go, that's better, isn't it? Okay, so let's have a look at this and see how we can add some aura. The simplest, which I'll do here, not aura, shadow, is to add some shadow on the inner side of the top and bottom lines or bands, like so. And then with the careful use of a tortillon, I'm putting the point up against or towards the line, because I don't want to go over that line, but I do want to bring the shading into the rest of the central area just a bit, like so, and like so. It's more about rubbing the graphite. It's more about, well, in my case, you could be using graphite. I'm using chalk pastel. It's more about rubbing it into the paper than it is anything else. But instantly we've got some dimension going on there. Then, what else? Another way of doing this. I'm going to add shadow to the left of each of these for a moment on the outside of them. So let's just do that here. And I am going to tease it out into the further out than just the edge there. You must remember to order some more tortillons. So I am using them still at the moment. I don't like paper stumps, I have to say. So we've got some shadow on that side, and I think I'm going to put shadow on the inside here. So this is around the outer side of these, the aura on the left of this orb, and now I'm putting shadow to the right of the inside, and I am keeping the shadow fairly curved so it kind of mimics the shape of the sphere, but like so. So we've got something a bit different going on. I've done it left and right. You could do top and bottom, and that's almost making them look like they're just adding a bit along the bottom here. Not sure whether they look like they're holes or sticking up. It may be one of those optical illusions that, you know, anything goes. And what I will do with this one is I am going to add some shadow on the outside of these bands instead of the inside. And just see what happens. Now I have just managed to go into that space a bit, and I can just pick some of that chalk up with I'm using a bit of a kneadable eraser there. Okay, with these ones I'm going to do something completely wacky perhaps. I'm going to put a darker area in the middle, and I'm going to just work it in and then ease it out a bit so we get a bit of shadow going this way. Then I'm going to put shadow all the way round the inside of this. I'll come back and decide about any other dimension I might want. And then I'm just going to work this in and smooth it out just around the edge. I'm not going to try and bring it too far towards the middle. I want to leave a kind of circular highlight between these two areas. So hopefully I end up with something that looks a bit like a donut, I suppose. It's really hard for me to see what's going on. Actually, that sort of looks okay. Sort of looks like that. It would be better with a brighter highlight, so I might do that in a moment. I'm just checking time. Oh, 41 minutes. Okay, so with this, I'm going to put shadow inside each of these bands, I think. And I'm also going to think about how I shadow this to create it, or to make it feel that it's a bit spherical in shape. So I am going to pop some shadow right the way round the left and bottom. But I will add a little bit of shadow on the right hand side in a moment. Just do these bands first. I want to keep these fairly narrow because you need that highlight in the middle to give that illusion that they're bulging outwards. If you put the highlight in the middle, it will look like they're bending inwards. I haven't done that, so I'll do that with one of the other ones, if I remember by the time I get there, because my brain may just have fried a tad by the time I get there. Let's blow the excess chalk off. So that already is looking like we've got inset channels there. So here is where I'm going to start to create that shadow that we'd get as the curve of the sphere, or the the spherical-ish, ballish shape, sort of falls off into the distance. And I'm going to add some shadow on this side as well, but not as intense. Just enough that it gives that feeling that we've got perhaps shadow here. I'll put some more shadow at the bottom, bring that up a bit more, and hopefully that will work a little bit. And then I'm just going to pop perhaps a bit of a drop shadow underneath, leaving a bit of a gap between this and the sphere where it's going to be slightly lighter. You would get some reflected light there perhaps, but that may help to lift it off the background a bit. I'd actually want a bigger area of shadow, but that helps a little as well, possibly. We'll have a look. Did I just fall right? I'm sorry if I went off the camera there. Okay, these ones, I am going to put shadow here where it would be under, and on the left here it would be up here. So I'm going to start by bringing out the overlapping nature of these more than anything else. So let's have some shadow here. Make the shadow a bit wider in the area around this particular object here. And the same kind of idea here is that I'll have a bigger shadow here because the background here will be further back, so the shadow will be cast over a bigger distance. Whereas on this, if it's really quite close, there'll be shadow, but it'll be quite small. So we've got that going on. Just checking, see if I can just smooth some of this out a bit more. That's okay. Right, this one we'd have shadow here for this band and here. And again, we'd have it spreading a fair distance. Here I've already got some shadow and some highlight in the middle there. So that makes sense. And this one, there'd be shadow underneath this, all along like that. We might have a hint of shadow there because it's overlapping that one. But let's have a look. So we've got that. This one here, just a little hint of shadow there. Helps to separate one motif from the other. And then I think I'm going to add a shadow as if we've cut a hole in our paper and we're looking through a hole, a window. And so that shadow will be to the top and the right. Gets very complicated, doesn't it? But if you do it one step at a time, it's not as complicated as you think. I always think about how it's about shadows caused where light would fall from a light source. My light source is always to the top right. When I'm doing this, I always imagine it there. So I always put shadows to the bottom and the left. So if the light's coming this way, this is the left side of the line and this is the bottom side of this line. You see what I mean? So this is top and right, left and bottom of those lines. And then you think about what are called cast shadows. And these are shadows that are cast by objects where they overlap. And they'll generally be, if the light source is top right, they'll be to the left and the bottom. But then you have to think about where they overlap as well to help separate them. And we've got that. And I could then, if I wanted to, we can pop some shadow around this. I'm not putting this up against the line. I'm putting it slightly to the side of the line, and I'm putting quite a thick line in here. Because what I'll do then is just going to spread this out and hopefully spread it down a bit. So yeah, circular pattern's working better here now. So this should hopefully give me a feeling that this central bit is also pushed up somewhat, so we've got some shadow here. I am going to have to clean some of this up because I've managed to get some chalk going in strange places. There. And along here. So what I'm doing here is just cleaning that area up where I didn't want to have any chalk where some has got to. Like so. So that's quite nice. Now then. Let me just get that. I've got this here. I will get a paper stump. Hopefully I've got a clean one here somewhere. Where is it? It's there. Because I am going to pop some highlights in the centre of some of these. Just to help bring some of the brightness back in. So with these I have picked up some chalk. Pop some white pastel down the centre of these where there would be highlights, just to help to bring those out perhaps. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to just blend it in quite lightly. This isn't charcoal, it's chalk pastel. Oh, it is a chalk pastel. Well, that's okay then. With these, I'm just going to pop some white around the middle here. Here I'm putting white circles where there's going to be highlights. On this one, because the shadow's to the right, I'm popping these more to the left rather than centrally. So let's see what happens there. There may not be much of a difference to see on the camera, or there may be, it depends how it picks it up. Just that extra hint of brightness. Actually it does, it makes it quite bright, doesn't it? I have sort of zoomed in again, haven't I? Zoom out. I'm all zoomed out. Okay. The only other thing I'm going to do is I am going to pop a white edge round here. Just to brighten that border between the two up, like so. I don't like white chalk over ink, it dulls the ink down, but it kind of works. For this one, I'm going to pop an area of highlight here, but I'm going to get it to mimic the shape of the band, so it gets narrower towards the middle and wider towards the edges. As I use that and pick up some of the chalk, but it is what it is today. That'll be nice. And perhaps with this one I'll pop some highlight in the middle. I did that already, but it seems to have either it's not noticeable, or it just vanishes because it's chalk, I don't know. But there we are. So, OAURA by Lin Chiu CZT, and some variations or alternatives and things we can do. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. I hope it's given you some ideas. I'm going to have to, at some point in time, not today because I do have to get work done, I'm going to go over the black lines because they've really dulled back with that white, and I'd prefer to have the black out. Those have worked out really quite nicely, the donutty shapes, you know. That one's an unusual one. I quite like it because it's almost like we've got these heading inwards. I'm looking at it now and I'm quite tempted, so we've got them down. Yeah, I'm quite tempted to actually pop a bit of shadow on this side too, just to make it feel like we've got almost like a cup holding, or some kind of way that inner bit is being held in place. This is really trying to work with illusions and dimensionality and so on. Have a look very quickly. It's worked kind of. Tell you what we do need. Let me have a look and see if I can find that chalk. Rather than that, have I got it there? Yeah, here we go. This is a white charcoal. What was I looking at? Oh, it was this one, wasn't it? So perhaps having some highlights, really white highlights here, here, perhaps there. will really help to bring that out, possibly. So just lightening up that area right at the top there. Helps a bit, not convinced. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope that if you make some more variations of your own that you'll share those with me. I'd love to see them. And for now, just look after yourselves. Be safe, be careful, and find time to be creative. See you again soon. Bye-bye for now.